Welcome back. So research shows that mining companies are failing to create jobs in the communities where they operate. The Mining Affected Communities United in Action organization says the unemployment rate in these areas is over 65%, while companies pocket over 70 billion rand in profits. We get reaction to that. We are joined by the National Union of Mine Workers Acting Deputy General Secretary Phillip Mankge, as well as mining analyst Phillip Mankge, who coincidentally joins us from the US and perhaps will be able to give us a perspective on what to come out of that meeting tomorrow. But let's focus on this topic. Gentlemen, a good evening to you. Appreciate your time. I want to start with you, Mr. Mankge. The organization Makua saying in the communities that mining companies are operating, we are seeing unemployment rates of 65%. I mean, it's quite a jarring number. I immediately think about when we looked at the unemployment data from Stats SA that was just recently released. One of the most frightening numbers was coming out of the Northwest, a mining province for the most part. And the expanded definition of unemployment there, 54%. I mean, that means more people are unemployed than they are employed. But that's 65%. Do you agree with that data?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to our viewers. I think as National Union of Mine Workers, we are concerned about the figures that has been revealed by Makua, sitting at around 65% where we are sitting. And we are having various kind of laws in the country which has been promulgated and passed through the government. And then such laws are not implemented in the country. Currently, if we can tell you that we are having challenges of retrenchment in
Oh, I'm getting some trouble there with your line, Mr. Mankge. Can you hear me? Mr. Mankge, are you able to hear me? Okay, some trouble there with the line. We're going to see if we can get him back. And he, of course, starting to talk there about a challenge of retrenchments that the NUM is raising. But Peter, I'll let you take over now. 65% unemployment for communities where mining companies are operating. Do you think that data, number one, is correct?
That data is probably correct, but it's only a small bit of data. We need to see a lot more data.
Yeah. Just a second. Let's try and get some clarity or just to separate Phillip Mankge, because I think he's still trying to talk and not realizing that he's no longer on air. But go ahead, Peter. Apologies for that.
Okay. Let's have an example.
Sure.
Let's think about Klerksdorp. Klerksdorp used to have Vol Reefs, and they employed 40,000 people. It also had Buffelsfontein that employed 15,000. Stillfontein employed 10. So you got 10, 15. That's 25,000 plus Vol Reefs. That's 65,000 people were employed in Klerksdorp. Now, though, we know most of those mines have been closed. So I'm assuming there's still maybe 5,000 to 8,000 still employed. So you can say, here's a big town that was based on 3 gigantic mines, and now you have 1 medium mine and a couple little small mines. So yeah, there probably is 65% unemployment there. But we should be saying, why did those big mines close? If the gold price is so high, why were those big mines closed?
And how do we answer that question?
We had massive changes in policy and legislation. We nationalized the mines. We took all the mines away from their owners. We said those mines now belong to the government. But if you play by our rules and you come with our report card and you tick all the boxes, we will let you mine those minerals for another 20, 25 years. You still don't own them. Maybe they had a 100-year reserve, but we'll do this 20, 25 years at a time, but only if you fulfill all our new requirements. So they didn't have a grandfather clause. They didn't say the new mines have to abide by our new legislation. They came out with new legislation that shocked everybody, and told even the existing mines that were marginal, you either play by these new rules or you close down.
Can we talk a little bit about commitments that are made, though, in the social labor plans that are so incredibly important in a mine even having the license to operate in the first place, Peter? Number one, the transparency around those social labor plans and what some of them really should be targeting when it comes to not just creating jobs for the communities that they're in, but more importantly, upskilling people in the communities that they're in. And is there monitoring and evaluation of what that data looks like into whether or not they're reaching those targets?
Well, it depends how bad you want to mine. Let's say you're a foreign investor. You have two choices when you come to South Africa. You can buy government bonds. The government will pay you 12%. So most foreigners, they love our bonds because they get 12% with no risk, with no work, with no responsibilities and no obligations. They just loan this government money, they get 12%. But if you take that 72 billion in profit the whole mining industry made, they had to generate 1 trillion just to make 72 billion. And you know how much gets paid in taxes? Way more than 81 billion. But you know how much got paid to shareholders? 3.5%. So that's why foreigners don't want to invest in mining here. If they're lucky, they make 3.5%. But if they give the money to the government, they make 12. So no foreigner is going to come here and invest in mining for 3.5. He's going to invest in government bonds, stay home, relax, no obligations, and he gets 12%.
Yeah, so ultimately, and this is what the clarity I'm really trying to get here, is if you're speaking to these communities, where you've got an organization like Makua that lives and talks with these communities saying these jobs are not being created, the argument being, well, the mine simply cannot afford it. How long do we continue to deal with that, and who needs to then step in?
That is a great question, Naledi. You have asked the most important question. If the mines can't afford to run, if they can't afford to hire people, if no foreigner or local will give them money to stay in business, what are we going to tell all those people living around there that used to have jobs and now don't? It's all because of policy changes. Maybe we shouldn't have changed those policies so dramatically. Maybe we should have just changed them on 1 or 2 mines and see how it worked. This is like the Soviet Union when it fell apart. And remember Boris, after Gorbachev, Boris Yeltsin, he says, geez, if only we would have tried communism on a small country first, like Lithuania, Estonia, and seen how it worked. But no, we tried communism on the world's largest country. Oh my gosh. We have a similar disaster on our hands. We had this massive change in policy without thinking through the consequences. And now most of the industry is gone, certainly on gold.
We've got Mr. Mankge back with us. We can hear now the perspective of the National Union of Mine Workers. Mr. Mankge, you were starting to talk about the issues around retrenchments in the industry, but just when we lost you there, mining analyst Phillip Mankge essentially saying to us that, well, at this point, we've legislated ourselves into a corner where he believes that mines in these vulnerable communities simply cannot afford to keep operating and creating these jobs as investors are not making enough of a profit, that at the very most, they're able to come back with about 3% of a profit.
Look, as National Union of Mine Workers, we are saying, and we have been saying this for some time, to say we are having mines, and majority of mines are not in operation in the country. It means we've got a problem in the country, because when those mines are coming into the country, some of them, they are portraying themselves as investors, which are coming to create jobs. They will pass through all the stages. They will go to Competition Commission. They will go to all the government departments, entice the governments or sweet talk our governments with their proposals. But at the end of the day, when those people have maximized the profit in the country, they are leaving our communities vulnerable. I can give you the stats in terms of the mines that wants to retrench or shed jobs in this country this year only. This year, we've got Samanco in Tubatsi, and which wants to close, already has closed their smelter in Stelport. They are operating with only 1 furnace. we call that a layoff of employees. Employees are sitting at home. They are coming. Some they are working 1 day, some they are working 2 days, some they are working 3 days. We've got a situation in ArcelorMittal that about 4,000 jobs are likely to be shed. And then we've got a problem in Cato-Ridge KZN. So if you listen to the presentation of the company, you cannot grab anything that is tangible in the presentation. They are giving us a lame excuses. They are talking about using that land for another purposes. So what does that mean to the communities around KZN who were depending largely on the existence of Cato-Ridge? Then we've got Beeshoek in the Northern Cape. Is another plant. So, and we've been saying this as the National Union of Mine Workers to say, these companies which are coming here, and we are saying, let us change the policy framework of this country. Let's tighten our policy. This government is having a lot of progressive policies, but the challenge in South Africa is that the government lacks monitoring of those policies. We're having Companies Act in this country. We're having MPRDA. We are having a lot of legislation that are regulating the mining industry in the country. But our problem is monitoring and enforcement of those such laws. We've been saying, why did you allow a mine to stood idling for more than 12 months?
Yeah.
So we need to influence the policy direction of this country so that if a mine put their business into business risk for more than 12 months, then that the government must revoke the license and utilize that particular license or give it to another investor.
Yeah, two very differing views. Of course, Peter Mankge saying we've over-legislated. But Mr. Mankge of NUM is saying, no, we're not monitoring how we've legislated. But I do need to move to this. Peter, just as we wrap up, all eyes on Washington, D.C., certainly for the next, for tomorrow, and perhaps even what the fallout of whatever it is we see in the White House will be after tomorrow. Now, when we talk about all these challenges around the mining industry, what do we expect then for our team in Washington as they meet with Donald Trump to say that possibly could benefit the mining industry? It's hard also to ignore that at February this year you had now acting president, but then of course and is Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe uttering those famous words: if they don't give us money, let's not give them minerals. We are not just beggars, as he spoke of the West and particularly the United States. What do we say to benefit the mining industry in Washington tomorrow?
Great question. I would say anything it takes to get investment. Whatever it takes, I would say it. Now, nobody knows what Mr. Trump is going to say. Probably he doesn't even know what he's going to say. He's probably rattling off a lot of options in his mind, but he will decide spontaneously when he sees Mr. Ramaphosa in the delegation, when he hears a couple things they say. Then he will decide what he's going to say. But to answer your question again, if I was Mr. Ramaphosa, if I was anyone on that delegation, I would look Mr. Trump and his staff in the eye and say, sir, what can we do to encourage U.S. to invest in our country? Tell us what we can do, and we will come back to you with a great answer.
Okay. Mr. Mankge, the same question.
I will say the delegation that went to Washington, D.C. must put the interest of the South African first. Because if you listen to the slogan of Trump, Trump is saying Americans first. So therefore, as South Africans, we must also put South Africa first. We hear this language, good language of investment, but that particular language must not come cheap. We need to tighten our policies. Whichever wants to come to South Africa with a language of trying to invest into the country, at least if we would have now tightened our policies to say 50% of the profit should remain in the country, that could assist the process, and that should create a lot of opportunities for job employment in the country.
Yeah. And of course, the wishes of what we want to see coming out of tomorrow coming in hot and fast. But thank you so much to our speakers, Peter Mankge, mining analyst. He's actually speaking to us from Idaho in the United States, and Phillip Mankge, who is the acting Deputy General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers. We've got a few WhatsApps as well from our viewers, what it is that they would like to see to deal with, number one, the jobs issue in the mining industry. Livuyo Doe in the Eastern Cape says those mining communities must create jobs and focus on the following: prioritizing local hiring and procurement investment, investing in skills development as well as vocational training, support local SMMEs and community projects. The question, of course, as you hear from Peter Mankge, is can they afford to do so? Good evening all. I'm Matome from Katlehong. Yes, communities indeed struggling to find jobs at mines because of nepotism. Majority of people who are working in mines are people who hired their families, friends and others who bought vacant positions at mines. And crying emojis there, a desperate situation for so many in these communities as they watch mines continue to operate. And according to data that we also have the Makua commenting on, saying that more than 65% of those mining communities, the people in there, 65% unable to find work in those very mines. You're watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. More news after this.